The Angry Chicken Hearthstone podcast is produced by amove.tv. Check out amove TV for more podcasts covering Blizzard games. For more of Jocelyn's gaming podcasts, visit jossplays.com. And to find many more podcasts with Ridiculous Hat, follow @RidiculousHat on Twitter. Every episode of TAC is made possible thanks to our legendary patrons over at patreon.com/TAC.
Time's up. Let's do this.
Legendary.
You face Jaraxxus. You smell like a leper gnome. I knew it. So hot. A podcast about Hearthstone and Battlegrounds. This is The Angry Chicken.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Angry Chicken. I'm your host, Jocelyn, and joining me, as always, is my co-host, Ridiculous Hat. But we also have a special guest today because Garrett is off. So in his chair, we have LanguageHacker. Welcome, first time to the show.
Hello, happy to be here.
We are very, very happy to have you. And Hat, no squirrel problems? No more squirrel problems?
I cannot believe it, but I had no fiber internet for 2 days because squirrels chewed through the fiber line running from the pole to my house. That was what the technician fixed this morning. They had to run a new line due to squirrel-related damage. So, I don't know. Funny story. Mobile hotspot got me through the weekend along with the new Kirby game, which is very fun. So, yeah, we made it.
Ooh,
we're here.
interesting. I played so much Tiny Tina's over the weekend, but we're not here to talk about those games. We are here to talk about Hearthstone. But before we do that, we have a giveaway thanks to our friends over at Blizzard. We have 2 Voyage of the Sunken City standard pre-purchase bundles to give away. That includes 60 card packs as well as the special card back and 2 random legendary cards from the set. So if you guys want to enter, the giveaway should be live now. We have a link over to Gleam. We're using Gleam as we always do. So you probably have a whole bunch of entries without even trying. So go check it out. Also wanted to say a very big thank you to our patrons over at patreon.com/TAC. TAC is supported by our epic patrons, and you can become a TAC patron to get an ad-free version of the show as well as access to our Discord server. So if you like what we do and you want to support us, head on over to patreon.com/TAC. We wanted to say a very special thank you to our new patron this week, who is Mark T. Thank you so much for supporting the show. Now we got all of that stuff out of the way. Now we get to the fun stuff because, as I mentioned off the top, LanguageHacker, you've never actually been here before. In 450 some odd episodes, we've never had you on, which is a travesty. Just going to say that right now.
Yeah, I haven't had the opportunity yet, so this is the first time I'm here, and I'm kind of excited. I have, in the past, been on the same show as Hat at some point, maybe on multiple different occasions, especially if you count weird game shows as well. But I don't think I've been on with you before, so
this is our first time chatting in person. It's very exciting. So before we get into the meat of the show, we're going to be taking a look at all the cards that have been released. I think we're up to about 80 something cards that have come out for the set so far. We're going to talk about all of those, but before we do, we're going to get to know LanguageHacker. So what was your background like before you kind of made your way into the streaming and esports world? Were you like big into gaming, anything like that? Or, just did you fall into it with Hearthstone?
Always been a big gamer ever since elementary school, I guess. A friend of mine actually got me into World of Warcraft at the time, and I had played some other computer games before then, but kind of casually, and WoW was my first sucking my life away from me sort of game, and that kind of opened the gateway to everything. So Hearthstone wasn't quite my first love, so to speak. But other games aside, I was really doing most of my Hearthstone career actually started from when I was in university studying math/finance type stuff. And then I went on to work at a bank for a little bit. And then I quit to pursue competitive Hearthstone full time. And now I'm here.
So did you start Hearthstone as your first card game, or was there like something like what led you into Hearthstone? Did you play Magic, or was it Warcraft really that got you started?
It was mainly Warcraft. So there was a bit of a bridge. A couple of my friends in high school were playing Magic, and I did dabble a bit with Yu-Gi-Oh when I was young, but I had no idea what I was doing. Other people were playing Yu-Gi-Oh. I thought it was cool at the time. I watched the TV show, and I wouldn't really categorize that as my bridge into it. It was definitely Warcraft. I remember playing a bunch with, again, all my friends from uni and high school, and they pointed out to me, hey, there's, this cool new card game they're doing, Hearthstone. It's in the Warcraft universe. And I had played a bit of Magic with them, but I never got into it. I didn't collect myself. I usually just borrowed a deck from my friends when we were doing it. And because of that, I just never got into it. But for some reason, Hearthstone clicked a bit faster than me, a little faster than me. And I didn't like it at first. I remember picking it up, drafting an arena run, having no idea what I was doing.
That was your first mistake then, is that you went into arena.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought it was a cool idea. Okay, I get to draft some cards. I don't have a collection. That makes sense. Very quick 0-3, very bad experience. And then a couple of weeks later, I managed to take another jab at it, and I liked it a bit more.
Good. So how long were you actually playing Hearthstone before you, competitively, before you actually won your first championship?
To be clear, I've only won one championship. So
there's still there's tons of time. We're being positive here.
That's fair. Several years out, I actually can't even remember the year that I started playing shortly after it got released from beta. It might have been right when it went live, actually, because I don't think I played in beta, but shortly after. So from then until whenever fall 2018 was, definitely a few years, though. There was a long time where I was kind of just playing casually on the side with Warcraft, and I remember a lot of grinding to try and get better when people like Raynad and that sort of era was going on. I remember watching those streamers and saying, wow, I want to be that good. And why do they keep winning with the Zoo and I keep losing and I'm stuck at, Molten Giant rank back in the old ranking system. And that's kind of what drove me to start actually focusing time on Hearthstone instead of Warcraft, which turned out to be probably a decent decision.
So I'm looking back at these results. HCT Fall Championship 2018. What was the lineup? Because that was your championship. I'm seeing there might have been a Hadronox involved.
Yeah, I can tell you exactly what was there. Odd Rogue, which actually was not the deck I wanted to bring. However, it fit the lineup at that point in time. So it was with Baku, your hero power gets upgraded, and it was a bit more of an aggressive deck. I had Death Rattle Hunter. I had Taunt Druid. Actually, maybe not most, but there was a pretty even split between some sort of Malagos type Druid and then Taunt Druid or Hadronox Druid at that point. I guess Taunt Druid might be a little weird to say now because there's an aggressive Taunt Druid hanging around. Old Taunt Druid was, you play a bunch of big taunts, you have some ramp, and then you have the spider that reses all of your taunt minions, and that kind of wave closes out the game with a Savage Roar type card, Branching Path. There was Taunt Druid, there was Death Rattle Hunter, there was Odd Rogue, and my favorite Shudderwock Shaman, probably my favorite deck of all time because of the champion.
So no Cube Warlock.
No.
See, that's why I'm a fan. He didn't bring Cube Warlock.
No.
I can't tell you how the prep went there, but maybe I came to the conclusion that it wasn't good or I was not good at it.
You didn't play it and you won the tournament, so I'm going to say that it was the right call because that's how these things work. And you won over one Luna Love in the finals. Pretty amazing. So that was, you'd been playing for a while before that, but that was kind of your breakout performance there. You had the trophy. And then from there, you've been playing, that was 4 years ago. And you've been through a lot of systems since then, through tour stops, through Grandmasters, through whatever BlizzCon was at one time. I guess that was Worlds? Yeah.
Yeah, kind of. Worlds has changed even from year to year. It's been quite different.
Yeah. Right. There was Worlds and then there was Globals. I forget. Yeah, it was confusing. So
Global Finals.
What are the systems that really that you really enjoy, that you really clicked with, and what are some that maybe that didn't work as well for you?
I really like, I should preface this by saying every iteration had pros and cons, and I understand that the team has worked hard to try and make improvements over time. And I will say that none of the systems were actually great, but each had things that I liked. I will say that HCT, the Hearthstone Championship Tour system, was probably my favorite, not because I won a championship or anything, but because I did like the sort of point system where you could either gain points from playing in online cups or attending these offline events. The downside to that was that, people who could afford to go to every single event, even if it's in Asia or Europe or wherever, gets more points on average because they get more exposure to those tournaments and likely just get more points. So that was a downside, because people who had access to traveling more could just get more points. However, if that had been reined in a little bit and maybe limited to how many, for example, how many Masters tours we have now, I think there's 6 a year. If that was limited a bit more, and if it was online on top of the normal open cups you could qualify through, that point system really appealed to me. And I think a lot of players did like the point system from there, even though it had its flaws. And over the years, iterations have changed that. So you can't just brute force your way through a million tournaments and gain points that way, which has been an improvement. And ultimately, Grandmasters, which has had pros and cons as well. I know the feedback from the community has been relatively negative. At the start, it was quite exciting, but it feels like it just got saturated with way too many broadcast weeks, I suppose. 7 weeks in a row of watching your favorite Hearthstone streamer or pro play is kind of boring, especially if the meta is the same for half of it.
Yeah, they kind of went down a path that was trying to kind of create, I guess, like narratives and you know, get people to be familiar with the players, because with just the nature of Hearthstone, we tend to see a lot of people. Tend to see a lot of people in the top, say, 32 of names that we recognize, but you know, like people can high roll tournaments and you may not necessarily see your favorite players if they have a bad weekend or something. And then if there's no Hearthstone tournament for another 2 or 3 months, then it's going to be really hard to get to know those players. So I think they were trying to solve that with Grandmasters, but then saturated the market. It's like they went from not being able to see your favorite players to being able to see them all the time. And then everyone was like, well, I can't tune in this weekend or next weekend. Like they wanted to make it like football maybe, but it didn't seem to work out like that.
Yeah, I do appreciate that they tried to keep. So one of the benefits of having such a long season, and I think the season were 7 weeks, maybe even a bit longer than 7 weeks previously. This year was a little different because we have like a ramp down as the end of Grandmasters approaches. But I did like that they had that sort of 7-week period, because regardless of whether or not it was a little too much to watch after the first few weeks, it allowed for a lot more gameplay from the pros. So you had more agency over variance. Whereas I can tell you from experience, this 3-week season was not it. It was not it.
Yeah, I found it to be just so surprising. There was no comeback mechanics. It was over before it even began, it felt like. And it was just like, man, there was so much pressure on each and every single week. And I was like, this doesn't seem like it's fun to participate in at all.
It was stressful, but exciting. And not to discredit anyone who made it through like this, it's still really good players, and it's just a lot of prep work and gameplay and lineup prep, and it's especially with different formats. I know they tried a new format this time too, and they tried to allow for different skills to show through despite having a shorter season.
That's a good point, actually. This was our first kind of new format in a long time. Did you enjoy the whole bucket system and kind of being a little bit constrained in your deck building and lineup building, or was that just kind of a flop?
My attorney has advised me not to answer that question. No, I can talk
it was
about
fun
it.
as a viewer.
It's completely, I want to say, different from what we're normally used to, because it's not you don't have free reign over what you can. I mean, you can choose between the buckets, but basically, for those who aren't aware, Trio was the new format they tried this season, and the esports team gives the players a few different buckets, and each bucket has, I believe, 3 classes, and those are the 3 classes you have to bring. One of those 3 buckets you have to commit to without knowing what everyone else is bringing. And this brings forth a couple of sort of mind games, because you can try creating a strategy around targeting maybe what looks like the most popular 3 classes, and perhaps you can create a strategy targeting the most frequent class that pops up in those buckets. And that was actually something that did become relevant, because 4 of the buckets we had in this season were with Warrior, which generally has 1 playable archetype right now. So people had to either stay off of Warrior, or if they brought Warrior, they had to bring Questline Warrior, which was nerfed a couple of times, and it was really rough if you did bring the Warrior, because you're stuck playing a deck that has less agency and just loses to itself half the time, because you happen to draw, your 2 Anchormen and your quest no longer gets completed in a reasonable fashion. I think with some fine tuning and with slightly different buckets, it could allow for a pretty flexible format. And I did like it initially when they presented it to us. After seeing the buckets and doing a bit of prep, it seemed a little rock, paper, scissorsy, because there were Out of the 5 buckets, 3 were probably the most playable, just because of what decks were available at the time and power levels of those decks. And then you had to decide if you wanted to add some strategy to that, isn't throwing some curveballs, bringing Questline Warrior. So it limited the choice of what you could bring. But if they had changed it up a bit, maybe kept it a bit more flexible, I think it could have been a lot better. Also, this is a format that can change even from week to week, because you can just fine tune the buckets and suddenly the meta is a little bit different. You have new things to consider when, let's say, Mage is an option, the next week.
Yeah, it was a really interesting. And Hat, feel free to jump in here because I feel like you're just sitting there. But
I can jump if you want. I can jump. It's been interesting to see GM over the years. Maybe one of the things that stands out the most to me is that because the players were so consistent, they had to explore so many different formats. Because think about what you've been through. What specialist, which your attorney is gag order. Can't answer. I understand. But we've had Shielded Conquest. We've had regular Conquest. We've had LHS. We had that weird Bring 10 Ban 6 format that I don't think ever got a name. That was 1 week and done.
It doesn't deserve a name.
Yeah. It's just been interesting to see how there's been that kind of experimentation. But looking at Grandmasters this year, I mean, you kind of said it. This is definitely the year of the sunsetting Grandmasters. So if we look into next year, there won't be Grandmasters. There will be a different kind of approach. Do you think that Master Tours will stick to more consistent formats? Do you think they have an opportunity to try these wacky formats some other way? Or do you think it's just going to be back to what we know?
Was that directed to Jocelyn? Or?
Oh, no, not me. I'm not the expert here.
It's an interesting topic. I wish I had more insight into what the team kind of the team's game plan is. I can see a couple of different ways this pans out. So one of the benefits, at least in my mind, one of the benefits of having it a sort of standardized format, which we have had in Masters Tours since Masters Tours inceptions, Conquest, it's accessible to players. You know exactly what it is. You don't have to learn multiple formats. The meta can be a lot different when you start including different things. And you might also have to consider a lot of different decks that also increases the collection that you might need for that. Whereas Conquest, even if you're not bringing necessarily the best sort of lineup, you can stick to the same thing. And the Open Cup qualifier system is a good way of looking at that, because you can brute force 20 different cups and say, I'm bringing the same lineup. It might not be the best one, but I'm going to stick to it. I know how to play the decks. I can probably qualify through that. So having that sort of consistent thing that people are familiar with, especially when the qualifying tournaments are also Conquest, makes sense. Now, I do think that being able to prep in different ways and bring different decks for different formats highlights skills that aren't normally brought up. Some players are very good at building lineups. We see a lot of creativity from people like Wire or John Bray, and I could list out like 20 other names, but I'm going to stop there because I'm going to leave some people out and they're going to get upset. There's a lot of creativity there, but at the same time, you don't have to be that creative with Conquest. And if you bring up different formats, even if they just come and go as they're trying it, like Trio or that Bring 10 class Ban 6, it allows for a lot more skill showcasing, but it can make it slightly less accessible, which is something I think they are trying to consider a lot more, which is, I think, also one of the reasons Grandmasters is starting to, let's say, what you used, sunsetting, because it is a bit more exclusive and they want to keep it more inclusive for people who want to compete.
Yeah, that makes sense. And speaking of the topic of formats and accessibility and showcasing different skills, I'm going to poke the bear a little bit. What do you think about changes right before events? And I'm not saying like 2 days, 3 days,
this
but
is not my fault.
So we just had a Masters Tour, Ruins of Alterac, which is pretty deep into a fairly stable meta with minimal change before the event. And right before that, I believe we had some relevant balance changes in the Masters Tour right before, within 3 days of the event. There have been some Masters Tours that are a week and a half after a set comes out, and some others Masters Tours that are in lame duck standard where you're waiting for the new cards. What do you personally prefer, and what do you think makes more sense for the team to do?
I personally prefer having more time, not unlimited. I'm not saying I need 3-4 weeks advance. I don't want to be in a settled meta necessarily, because again, when new things pop up, it allows people to highlight. It has a couple things. One, the faster the tournament comes up after a change, it highlights creativity. People are trying new things. It highlights new cards as well. Optimized lists will eventually start to lay off cards that don't quite fit, but that initial experimentation that happens to take off before people get accustomed to what's being run and then start fine-tuning lists. That showcases new cards, which is absolutely great. And that's one of the things that ideally you would want out of a competitive system, not only just to reward people who are committed to the scene, but also if you can make it a marketing and advertisement out of it, that's awesome. I'm okay with anything above like 5, 6, 7 days. It's really difficult to test everything, and I know going in blind can make it a bit more exciting, but it's also very, very stressful. Which is why I'm saying like 5, 6, 7 days. I've had the entire spectrum. I've had meta's been solved. We have all the time in the world to prepare because we've been in this meta for so long. I've had 2 days. There's been a patch. I've had a week, and I think a week is kind of a sweet spot. Maybe a little bit shorter if you want to really spice things up. But I think anything 3 days or less is just kind of frankly disrespectful. There are people who are prepping outside of like. So I'm a full-time competitor. Not even for me. I can like. If people tell me there's a patch and then there's gonna be a tournament 3 days after, I'll be like, all right, fine. I guess I just won't stream a couple days. I'll call together the team and we'll play, 16-hour days. But for people who have full-time jobs and do this competitive thing as a sort of side gig or just a hobby, it really messes with kind of their prep when you have changes 3 days out. And I can respect that that's very not fun from their side as well. I don't enjoy it, and I have more like a lot of free time as a full-time competitor, but it can be really stressful for them as well. Anyways, 5 days, give or take, is what I would prefer.
Yeah.
Easy, quick answer.
And do you like the immediately post-expansion vibes? Like, is that fun for you when they put out a set and they're like 10 days later, all right, there's an event, go nuts? Or do you prefer something a little bit deeper?
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. Key thing over 5 days. It's
you don't even care if it's a balance patch, a new expansion, a mini set, Blade Master Okani for half a day, and then not Blade Master Okani, like whatever.
Yeah, I think fresh stuff is nice, especially at the start of a new meta. And meta I mean specifically new expansion. For example, if there's an event 10 days after an expansion launches, that's awesome. There is nowhere near enough time to settle. Decks are found constantly after within hours of each other at times. So it's really exciting to do at the start of an expansion. And it's also a big thing for practice groups, because practicing for events, you can absolutely do it solo just from ladder work and browsing statistics from open cups and whatnot. But having a relatively dedicated group of people, even if it's like 3 or 4 people together, when you have more time, you can test a lot more stuff. Even just 4 or 5 days, you can test a lot of things. Maybe not perfectly, but to get a good idea. Yeah.
Yeah. If you had 8 people, you could test Battlegrounds.
Great segue.
Good segue.
Thank you. Yeah. It's because Hearthstone esports, it's not just for constructed anymore. What are your thoughts on the idea around lobby legends and the attempt to broaden Hearthstone esports? Do you think there's an audience for it? And I guess we could instigate and say, do you think there's an audience for core Hearthstone esports while we're here?
Core Hearthstone? What do you mean by core? You mean
like
classic?
standard.
The thing that you
standard.
Yeah, like standard Hearthstone. Yeah, the esports that we have been watching.
Sorry, what was the question?
So, what are your thoughts on the idea of broadening Hearthstone esports to bring in a larger audience with Battlegrounds and other formats and whatever? Do you think there's an audience there, and do you think that we have an audience now?
Okay, yeah, gotcha. For Lobby Legends and I guess Battlegrounds as an esports, developing an esports for that, I think that's a great idea. And it's something that the community has also been interested in a long time from what I've seen. I do dabble in Battlegrounds as well, and from what even before Lobby Legends has come out, people have been asking for a very long time. Where we need competitive. Why does standard get competitive? And we have a leaderboard, which is nice, but we want some events, we want some hype, community building. So I think there absolutely is an audience for it. I think it's a good idea to have esports for that as well. I don't know to what extent the team would like to do that. It's all a function of what their kind of goals are out of a competitive system, because it's not necessarily purely community driven. If you can find a way that drives the community and also advertises the game, that's obviously the perfect combination of stuff. So it really depends what kind of access to. I mean, I'm gonna be quite frank. If they have the budget for it, I really think they should do it, because people get excited about this stuff, and there is an audience for it. And in standard, I think we do have an audience. It may have dwindled a little bit since Grandmasters has kind of taken the steering wheel for the past few years, and hopefully that will get refreshed with a new system. I don't think it's completely gone. I do know a lot of people, and I know that's relatively anecdotal, but I know a lot of people in the community, and a lot of them do follow esports. Maybe not every single match, maybe not every single week, but they're relatively aware of what's going on.
That's fair.
You can kind of see it when you have a channel in any Discord, like in your language hacker Discord. I am sure that all the people that say they don't follow esports, when a Masters tour is on, the chat along channel, I'm sure is just a mile a minute.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it does seem like there's still some interest. I think it's a fair criticism to say that when they changed platforms, that was not the best choice for Hearthstone. But hopefully with Lobby Legends being able to be over on the Twitch side, we'll kind of see that start to grow again. And I do think Battlegrounds is really fun to watch. So it seems to have a lot of numbers just in regular Twitch streaming. So hopefully we can see more interest in Hearthstone kind of picking up. And we have a new rotation, new expansion, everything else for the new standard year. And along with that, we're going to have the core set coming out. I think the announcement of the core set stuff is next week. So do you have, I know you just did a YouTube video, I think last week, going through all the cards that you wanted to see in the core set. So can you just kind of give an overview of that and maybe point people to your YouTube and like what you want out of the core set for next year?
Sure. YouTube.com/LanguageHacker. It's spelled as it sounds, which is not to be said the same for some of my other. I know my Twitter handle has an underscore in it, but very straightforward. YouTube.com/LanguageHacker. Yeah, I talked about what I want to see for each class. Now the core set has, I think, currently 16 cards for each class and a bunch of neutrals. I didn't go that into depth because I think it's very important to tailor the core set year by year based on what expansions are coming out, because the team is aware of 2 or 3 expansions out at a time, so they know what each class might need, or in terms of support for archetypes, or even just generally as maybe one of the classes just lacks card draw in general for some reason, and they could tailor the core set to that. So I did include, I think, 6 cards for each class that I'd like to see. Most are kind of thematic, and I think they're ideally flexible enough that the classes can use them in a variety of decks. For example, in Rogue, Foxy Fraud and Swindle are both rotating at the end of this year, which is whenever the core set rotation happens, or the rotation / the new core set happens. And I thought that was a reasonable 2-card combo that Rogue could keep, because it fits the combo / template thing, and it's a little bit of card draw, because I know Rogue, for example, is losing Secret Passage with this rotation as well. Please don't put Secret Passage in the core set, please.
Oh, they won't. That card is way too weird for them to bring back. People still don't understand how it works.
Yeah.
It has probably the funkiest rules of a card. It's like every time they bring out something new in some new expansion, it's like, and this is the 10 paragraphs of how it works with Secret Passage.
I know Mechathon works really funny with it in Wild. I've seen some wacky stuff. Apparently, they're just the cards that you put away. If you kill off your own Mechathon while they're in the passage, it counts as not part of your hand or deck, which is technically true. It's not your hand or deck, but it's just funny imagining some cards slightly off screen, just saying, all right, no one show up. The Mechathon's going to blow up and we're going to win the game.
It's if I can't see you, you can't see me, and then the game is over.
Celestial saying they're just off to the side. So in terms,
we don't know where. It's a secret.
Yeah, it is a secret. Oh God. So what is your guess for the next standard year? If you had to pick an animal, just a year of the.
Is it also targeted at me?
Yep.
What do I have to answer first? Oh no.
Well, everyone knows I'm Year of the Unicorn, so.
Okay.
And you're the guest, and this is the interview section. So typically, we do ask the questions to the guest being interviewed.
Okay. See, I hadn't been.
You want to interview us? We can do that next. You can ask questions.
Yeah.
Next.
Who needs to talk about cards? Let's just talk about us.
I do have questions about the squirrels.
I do too.
Ooh,
Why were they so hungry for my internet? There's all sorts of leaves and acorns and shit outside, and they ate my cables. Well, that's not nutritious. It's fiber cable. It's a very light meal.
Oh God!
Fiber is good for
get out.
digestion.
Do you get it? Because fiber is light.
Yeah.
Wanted to make sure you got it.
I actually did a bit of research right before we started, while we were getting everything set up. I did have open, I forget what website it was, but basically the current years that we've already had, and I tried to find a pattern, and that was not very helpful. I have some funny ideas. Year of the Murloc is a cool one. Year of the Naga, I think, is a little too thematic and too linked. I don't think they would do that.
Yeah, a
So I
little
can tell you
on
it's
the
not
nose.
those two. I can tell you it's not those two. I would love for it to be Year of the Kobold, but I also don't think that's going to fly. That'll be my guess, though. Kobold.
Kobold? What about you, Hat?
Yeah. I've already guessed Year of the Hydra, and that's looking
Ah.
better and better every day because my rule was that it had to be a mythical creature, and after 3 to 4 years, I think it's 3 years in a row of flying, it has to be not a flying mythical creature this year. Hydra's very amphibious.
Mm.
Like not just aquatic, like can be aquatic adjacent, but they can go on land. They can sink, they can float, they can do all sorts. They can do Hydra stuff. I don't know.
They can do Hydras. Yes, Hat, you're right. Hydra's doing Hydra stuff. So on that awesome note, if you guys do want to catch up with LanguageHacker, we have links to everything he does in our show notes: Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, Discord, and coaching, because you do coaching too, right?
I do, not just standard battlegrounds, arena. If you really want to wild, I can as well. I need to brush up a bit, but I could do that.
Wow, even coaching wild. Maybe I'll have to hit you up for that, because that was my Hearthstone New Year's resolution, was to try wild. So, oh man, I'm not looking forward to that. I mean, it's gonna be fun.
You want to play Quest Rogue? It's good again.
Oh man, I don't want to play
no.
Rogue.
What year is it?
I mean, it turns out when they reverted the 3 nerfs to Quest Rogue that it's good again. Who could have seen that coming? I don't know.
I'm guessing
Yeah.
you saw that coming.
I was not the only person that said undoing all the nerfs to the most nerfed card of all time will make it better. A lot of people saw that coming. I will take credit, but it was foreseeable.
I feel like whenever you speak like that, I'm like looking for a pun. Like, just like when you like slow down and like really lean into a word, I'm like, what am I missing here?
No. Joss, I promise that whenever I make a pun, if you don't get it, I will explain it to you until you do. You don't have to worry. I have no shame and plenty of willingness to be overbearing on the air.
Excellent, excellent. Well, before we get into all of the cards that we're going to cover today, we're going to take a moment and thank our sponsor. So we'll see you on the other side. This episode of The Angry Chicken is brought to you by Raycon. It's that time of the year when snow melts and it's time to get outside again. Make sure you're ready for the summer season with a brand new pair of Raycon wireless earbuds. The Raycon wireless earbuds are the best way to bring audio to you because no matter how much you shake things up, literally no matter how much you shake, you know they won't fall out of your ears. Their everyday earbuds look, feel, and sound better than ever. There's also awareness mode for when you need to listen to your surroundings so you can take Raycons with you wherever you go. My husband is not the biggest fan of true crime stories, but I love them. So when I'm doing dishes, listening to my stories, I always have my earbuds in. There's nothing worse than losing an earbud into a sink full of soapy water, but I haven't had to dredge one out yet. They have different sized gel tips that make sure you get the perfect, most comfortable fit. Raycons offer 8 hours of playtime and a 32-hour battery life, and they're priced just right. You get quality audio for half the price of other premium audio brands. It's no wonder that Raycon's everyday earbuds have over 48,000 five-star reviews. Right now, Angry Chicken listeners can get 15% off their Raycon order at buyraycon.com/tack. That's buyraycon.com/tack to save 15% on Raycons. buyraycon.com/TAC. We thank you for supporting the brands that support the Angry Chicken. All right, it is card talk time. So we're going to go class by class and just give you guys, because we didn't really go too deep last week into what had been revealed. So we're just going to have a bit of a chat about what we've seen. Some classes don't have hardly any cards yet. I think we were talking pre-show, and Warlock only has like 2 cards. So we have no idea what's happening over there. But yeah, we're gonna take a look here now at Demon Hunter. So Hat, I'm gonna throw to you because you're our card review guru. What are your thoughts on what Demon Hunter's got going on? Other than Glaive Shark, yes, that reveal was amazing.
So raunchy animation, good at what they do. And also, I will point out we do have another guru here who has won a lot more official Hearthstone tournaments than I have.
All I know is I'm not saying shit because you guys are both like top 100. So whatever you think about cards is probably right.
You'd be surprised.
You say some shit. Yeah,
I have paper trails of every rating I've done in the past 4 or 5 expansions, and there's a reason I don't bring them back up after I review them.
Yeah, we usually get like one card really right, and it's like, yes, we did it.
The best part about being a content creator is that guessing wrong gets you more content, so there's no way to really lose. We're looking at Demon Hunter here, so every class kind of has. There's the Colossal, which are more general application, and then there's a Naga, which are more. You think about what spells are they going to put in these classes. Spoilers for most classes so far. Probably not enough spells, unless we have enabler cards that we haven't seen yet, because they all
or core set
depend
changes.
on playing a
core set is
or
a
core
big
set changes.
unknown at this point.
And the Demon Hunter Naga cards make sense that they put Twin Slice and Core Set, but they wouldn't do that because they're not certifiably insane. So we'll see what happens. But looking overall at Demon Hunter first, Demon Hunter's kind of a weird place to start because this is one of the least cohesive sets we've seen so far. There's a couple spell payoffs. There's one of the Sinky dudes, when there's the Ajaran copy, and then they make something else that goes in the bottom that's a sunken copy.
Yeah, the sunken
Every class
cards,
is one of those. Yeah. So Sinky dude, I'm gonna call. I think it's pretty clear what that is. There's a couple of decent cards. I like the Multi-Strike, which is a 1-mana fell spell. Give your hero +2 attack this turn. They may attack an additional enemy minion. Have you ever seen an Iron Deep Trog and you want to kill it with a Fury and you can't? Well, now you can. That seems to be where this is going. But
it's the anti-Trog tech.
But you think back to when we looked at Barons last year, there were these weird Death Rattle-y Quillbore. And we said, well, they're trying to do something. They're trying to give us this strategy, this deck, but it's new and different and weird for Demon Hunter. It ended up being kind of a thing. Here, I see a bunch of cards, but I don't know what the deck's going to be. Hacker, I'm curious what you see out of what Demon Hunter's doing so far, because we got a couple interesting cards. They printed a legendary Flamewaker. That card's cool as hell. Lady Athena, which is it's a 2/4 that's immune while attacking. Whenever you cast a spell, it attacks the lowest enemy, so it just plinks things. It can go face. It's a really cool card. But overall, I see cards, but not a strategy.
So with what, as a bit of context prefacing, Demon Hunter is a little weird compared to the other classes because the other classes, it's very clear what's rotating outside of anything that's being brought back into the core set. Demon Hunter came out at the start of the year, of which all these cards are rotating. All those sets are rotating out of, like the 3 sets that are rotating are all in that first year of Demon Hunter's existence. So I don't think they can just rotate all of them because then Demon Hunter's going to have no cards. So I think they have to do some sort of hacky stuff where they either just make another like Demon Hunter Initiate set or they throw stuff in the Initiate set. So we're not completely clear what tool set is available there. However, I think the quest line is going to be in because that's more recent. So you could get some sort of Lady Steno deck, the Flamewaker you were talking about, in a quest line deck where everything is reduced. You do play some cheap spells. You still run the glides or whatever, assuming they're still in. You complete the quest and then try to do some sort of. Oh, they're not.
Glide is nope. So
Glide is gone again. Yeah, we're not sure what tools they'll keep. Yeah.
Yeah. Though to provide some context, so the Demon Hunter Initiate set actually rotated last year. We don't have that anymore. It's we're just in. Yeah, Demon Hunter Initiate was meant for the cards that came out in the year of the Dragon, and they rotated when Barons came out. So that was your Altruists, and there were a couple other cards that were in there, but mostly Altruists. Mana Burn was in there, Consume Magic was in there. Those cards kind of vanished. So we're at kind of a normal-ish area for Demon Hunter, but Ashes and Demon Hunter, that was the set that Demon Hunter came out. So we're not going to have Skull, which is, we've never played Demon Hunter without Skull, ever. We're not going to have Glide is going away. Illidari Study's going away. The entire Kurtrus combo is going away. But Celestion's pointing out in chat, you were correct that the Phoenix sets were larger. They just had more cards. So it's going to just feel a little weird for Demon Hunter, especially Demon Hunter with no skull, man.
Mm-hmm.
We've never had that.
Don't give him ideas. Don't let them bring it back.
They're not. There is a 0% chance that Skull is in core. If Skull is in core, I will buy a hat and consume it live on the air during the next episode.
That would be ridiculous.
I get what you did there. I see it.
I just try to make you happy, hat. That's all.
I appreciate it.
Anyways, yeah, quest line could still be a thing. There is all those Death Rattle cards, I think, still exist as well. So you add the Sinky card that has been added, Asharan Defector, that
Sinky
could
dude.
slot into there as well.
Demon Hunter Sinky dude. That's oh man, that just stuck, didn't it? That's a thing now.
Demon Hunter Sinky dude.
Yeah,
just kind of rolls off the tongue. Yeah, I don't know. We might have another. I can't recall. I did a whole video on what's leaving standard as well. I can't remember if Jace was on that list or not. If Jace is still in,
he's not.
Okay,
he's staying.
Oh, he is staying. Yeah, then multi-strike could be added to a deck that runs non-quest line, just normal Fel, or quest line with Fel could be an option as well. It's been pretty popular.
Any final thoughts on Demon Hunter before we head on into Druid?
Just talk about Druid.
Okay, let's talk about Druid. So other than the adorable cards who IRL would eat each other, what do we think about Druid? Sorry.
Let them be friends.
I mean,
this
I
is a
love
video
that they're
game.
pretending. But I can't be the only person who looked at that and went, orcas are jerks.
Did you not play Animal Crossing?
I mean, I stand by it.
An alligator can be friend with a pig. It's like and they walk on hind legs and the alligator likes working out. Like it's a video game. Let them be friends.
Yeah, but I don't know. Orcas are just like, I would trust an alligator with a pig before I would trust an orca with anything.
Orcas are pretty savage.
They're vicious. They kill sharks now. Did you know that? They kill sharks.
I mean, they are nicknamed killer whales.
Yeah.
That's kind of...
I feel like everyone's going to think I'm on this like campaign against orcas. And I'm not. I want people to know that, yeah, they come by that nickname, honestly. Well, yeah, okay, they've always killed sharks, but now we know they kill sharks. So now they're scarier. Anyway,
so I think when it comes... So anyways, Druid, now that we're on that total downer of a note, thanks, Joss. So when we look at Druid, it still remains a conversation about what they're losing versus what they're gaining, because they have a lot of ground to cover here. Like a lot of ground to cover here. I know a lot of people are, think the aggressive decks aren't losing much. Technically true. They're only losing Arbor Up, but, it's Arbor Up.
That card won me so many games. Like if I hadn't, it was always like you draw Arbor Up and then you win. And that feels real good. And if it had been any other card, you'd super duper lose. But yeah, that Arbor Up at the right time.
Maybe they'll bring back Savage Root now. I don't know. You could.
Maybe they could. They definitely could.
Asharan Gardens is okay. It's not an Arbor Up replacement, I'll say that, but it can be useful, especially with in theory, the dredge cards that will be printed for Druid, or in the neutral, not set, but the neutral cards as well. You could do some sort of hand buffy stuff in Druid instead of going for the Arbor Up, while still having the aggressive game plan that you normally have right now with vomiting minions on the board.
Yeah, it's with aquatic form, the 0 mana dredge card. So Asharan Gardens is the Druid Sinky spell, where you give your hand +1/+1, then the Sinky copy gives your hand and your deck and in play, I think.
Yep.
+1/+1. So you kind of build your own Colossal sort of thing. And with aquatic form, which is the 0 mana dredge, if you can cast it, draw it. If you know that there's a 1 mana Colossal on the bottom of your deck and you can go get it and play it, that's basically it's 2 mana to give your hand +2/+2, and all of the other minions everywhere +1/+1. Not so bad. Pretty decent. As long as you can reliably do that, and Sinky spell combined with aquatic form to dredge it back up is pretty powerful.
Are we concerned about their kind of loss of ramp? Because there's a couple things that are rotating, right? Lightning, Bloom, and
A lot of things.
yeah.
Concerned
Bloom,
is not the
overgrowth.
right word. What's the phrase that's equivalent to dancing on their grave?
Wow. Not a fan of it. I guess they do still have Guff. Guff's a good boy.
I love
That's
Guff.
true.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what is concerning. Out of the 6 cards I see right now for Druid that have been shown, 3 of them cost 7 mana. And do you remember what card that is rotating takes you to 7 mana from a very specific, let's say, 4 mana turn?
Is that rotating
Is
as
it-
well?
Overgrowth is rotating. I'm incredibly concerned that it might be in the core set because of the fact that there's 3 separate
Oh.
7 mana cards.
No way. If it was in the
I-
core set, Scale of Onyxia would cost 8 right now.
Would it? I hope so. I mean,
well, and they
I'm-
might do
I-
balance changes with the core set too, right? There's nothing saying that they won't tweak some stuff when that comes out, but
Yes, it's just 3 7s. It's a little scary. Just pointing that out.
so it doesn't feel like winning the jackpot then with the 3 7s.
No, no. Word I would use.
As
yeah.
Overgrowth has that effect of just the huge mulligan variance, and we've had it for 2 years, and it's been meta defining for 2 years, and they've nerfed around it for 2 years. They had to nerf Fungal Fortunes, they nerfed Guardian Animals, they nerfed. Don't know if they nerfed a Druid card in Dark Moon Fair, but I think that they nerfed it by printing Nitro Boost Poison, so that was different. And they've been nerfing around 7 mana Druid cards forever. Leaving Scale seems like it sends the message of 7s are going to be fine because we're not jumping to them anymore. Especially with when you print a card like Warlock, the Druid Colossal. It's a 7 mana 6/5, immune while you control the shell. The shell is an 8 health taunt that says Death Rattle, gain 8 armor. You don't print 7 mana, gain 16, also comes with a 6/5 if Overgrowth is coming back. It does not happen. So I would bet
I'm
against
really
it.
looking
I would bet
forward
against
to playing this clip back after we get the core set reveal and
Yeah.
it's still in.
Can you eat 2 hats next episode?
Yep.
If they reprint Overgrowth, then I think that this clip will not be the loudest thing on social media that day. I think that I would feel bad for Alkali.
Mm.
I like the cards that they have. This reminds me, like Overgrowth joking aside, this reminds me of what Druid looked like when I actually started learning how to do competitive stuff. I remember the first deck I hit Legend with was a sort of Ram Druid where you play Wildgrowth, you ramp up, you play Druid of the Claws, you play Sunwalkers, Ancient of Wars, and this kind of has a similar feel. Obviously, it looks a little different and fancier, but I kind of get the same image from it.
Do you think that we're likely to see some sort of ramp added into the Druid set before it's done? Because we still have another 4 cards to come out for Druid.
I don't know if it'll be in this expansion or in the core set, but I am expecting at least 1 card, and I think it's probably going to be similar to either Breath of Dreams or Greedy Sprite, some sort of conditional ramp. I don't think they can just print another, 2 mana, gain a card, and they're not going to do Overgrowth, so there probably has to be some sort of in between that they can settle on.
Mire Keeper? Maybe keep a Mire?
Yeah.
Hmm.
That's I suggested Mire Keeper actually in the in my video.
Wow, what a handsome opinion.
Very
Thank
specific
you.
choice of words. All right, let's take a look at Hunter then. So again, another class we've seen 6 cards from. Anything catching your eye? We don't have the Colossal yet for the Hunter set, so yeah, I think that's the only one still to be revealed because Shaman was revealed today, right? So Hunter's the only one we're waiting on.
Correct. I bet it's rad. Because they're all rad.
I hope so. Yeah,
They're really cool.
The Colossal ones are pretty neat. I can't wait to
can't
get
wait
to
to start
Shaman
the,
and talk about the Shaman one because it's really cool.
Oh, yeah.
The animations are so good too, from the ones I've seen, at least like the entrance animations for the Colossals. Oh, they're so good.
Okay, so Hunter, the one we don't have Colossals for.
Right,
Anything sticking out that's super fun looking for you guys, or are we just thinking this is probably going to be Quest Hunter's year still again?
Yeah.
Not
People
sure.
People are freaked out about the 2-drop, which I think is much more of a face hunter card than a quest hunter card. The 2/3 Sottle calls it face naga. It's after you cast a spell, deal damage equal to its cost to the enemy hero. in Quest Hunter, you have to either play this super late game after you finish the quest to deal a bunch of damage, which the deck is already great at doing, or you have to play it early in your deck that has no other minions, and then you enable all of their removal. And I'm not convinced by either use case. However, I am convinced by the idea of putting a ramming mount on this on turn 3, and then my opponent being dead on turn 6. I would like to do that. I hope that I get to do that. It depends on my 2-drop surviving, so maybe I'll just start my turn 1 with, I don't know, an Iron Deep Trog, just throwing something out there. Maybe that'll work. And then ramming mount sticks to anything, and then I hit my opponent. Seems like pretty good. But this class is still missing 5 cards, including the Colossal. And, we've got a Secret, we've got a couple spell payoffs, and we've got a Sinky Saber. And the Sinky Saber is it's a 3/3 rush that makes a 3/3 rush that summons a beast from your deck. It's kind of anti-synergistic with the other copy of itself because it can pull the other 3/3, and I'm not as excited about that. But if it can hit something like a Mountain Bear, I'm more excited about the free Mountain Bear. I think that would be cool, but it's not as reliable. You can't really build around it. So, I don't know. It's a pretty difficult set to evaluate with the Naga trigger that we're not really familiar with how it works with the lack of neutral support cards revealed so far. And just with a lot of these sets seem to be more about providing building blocks, but not giving us really clear archetypes off the bat.
It looks like there could be some sort of mid-rangey Naga/spell thing that supports the bigger beast stuff. I know we've had some slow Death Rattle builds right now that I personally have found a little bit too slow, but with some of the cards that are being revealed that are either board control-y or Naga synergy-y, that could kind of fill in the cards that we need, that the deck might need to get to that sort of late game state, including the Sinky card that works with the big Death Rattles that you normally have beasts in that deck.
I'm just looking forward to and hoping that we get to a place where we're not, because even the Questline Hunter, which is less, I would say less aggro than Face Hunter, not by much. It's still a pretty aggressive deck, but it's not just face and I don't care what you do. I want to get back to like Death Rattly Hunters, or like the Rexar when we had the hero card to the Build a Beast days. I want to do something like that. I want to play a hunter game that lasts longer than 7 turns one way or another.
Wing Commander Ikman, very, very fun card to cast, so I hope we get to do that. But also you end up dying to cheap stuff. And
yeah, I don't want to die to cheap stuff.
We should give Hunter Ramp. What could go wrong?
I'm kind of curious to see what that would look like. I'm kind of curious.
Overgrowth.
That's no for growth. We can give it a different card. That card doesn't need to be in standard in any class. We can try something else.
Wholeheartedly. I'm trying to push this to the developers in chat.
Just to put that out into the universe. No one needs it. No one needs it.
Overgrowth. Yeah.
All right, let's talk about Mage, because the Mage Colossal, which we did talk a little bit about last week, but this is the one that you were saying, Hacker, is really cool.
Yeah, it is quite cool. Gaia the Tectonic. I like that they're pushing the whole mech thing back. It's basically a big mech, costs 8 mana, summons a couple other mechs. Those mechs have rush, and then anytime a mech attacks from your side of the board, it deals 1 damage to all enemies. So this could be really good just on curve as a sort of board clear. Could be good if you have some mechs on the board already to push some damage. And important to note, all enemies includes the face of your opponent.
I like doing damage to the face. That's fun. Except in Hunter.
Same.
No more face huntering, but anyone else can do facey
that's
things.
That's what the class does. They have a button that says break button in case of face damage. You just smash it and then the arrow shoots. Come on.
Yeah. You can't miss. Everything's set in place for you.
Very steady. It's very steady.
It's very true.
Yeah, I do also like. I want to look at Volcanomancy real quick. This new spell that was revealed relatively recently. 2 mana epic spell. Choose a minion. When it dies, deal 3 damage to all of their minions. I think this is Doomsayer, because I envision if I go, I'm thinking about me as the person that's playing minions, my opponent as the one that hates fun and my stuff and wants the game to go on forever without me winning.
That'll be me.
Yeah, exactly. So imagine I'm playing against Hacker. If I go 1-drop, 2-drop, and then LanguageHacker says Volcanomancy your minion go, do I play my 3-drop? Because if I don't, and you take 3, then you're just like, all right, we'll just wait here until you're ready for me to kill all your stuff. And if I do play stuff, then you've doomsayered me. You kill it right away, however you want to do it. If you have your own minion and you Volcanomancer your own minion as kind of a backup plan, you can decide when you want to pop it. But I just envision the scenario where it's early game, we're developing board, and then I just kind of don't get to do that anymore because whenever you want, you've got a fire sale on demand. And that seems kind of spooky to me. So interesting to see. I think it'll be a really skill testing card to play with as well. A lot of different ways to use it.
I do like that it's choose any minion. So like you pointed out, you have the option of putting it on your own and you have a little bit of potential control there, or, you know, like you said, backup plan in break in case of emergency. I like the design of this card. I like anything that lets players find a lot of different ways to use it.
Egg Mage.
Yeah.
You heard it here first.
That's gonna be something you're gonna try day one.
Depends how many eggs are in the core set.
Fair.
So much of this comes down to the core set. Let's take a mid-review reverie. Is it just me, or is this reveal season just a little strange with this added wrinkle that we kind of have to wait for? Because it's a long reveal season, and the context that we're waiting for is buried pretty deep at the end. It's the first core set rotation we've ever had where we didn't know all the cards up front. And well, the first core set change ever. The first time we got it was when they made the core set.
Mm-hmm.
But this is the first time we know we have it, but we don't know how much is staying the same. It's like, all right, at the end, you get to figure this out. Just feels strange to me.
Yeah, I'm surprised that wasn't the first thing we were told.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would have helped a lot for context. I'm not a fan of it. However, let me paint you a picture. We don't know the core set. We're evaluating all these cards without context. And then when the tier crafting streams happen or the expansion gets released a short time after that, suddenly we have a lot less time to plan and piece things together, and it's a bit more exciting on expansion day. Is that a possibility?
Sure. Yeah, I am certain there are reasons. Just because I don't know them doesn't mean they don't exist, and I don't want to insinuate to the listeners out there that Blizzard doesn't know what they're doing. Why don't they just give us the cards? That's not what we're
That's how I
doing.
make a thumbnail and we get views.
Yeah.
You gotta be more
Thumbnail
controversial. Let's go.
What's that?
Shake a fist or
Make
something.
Make a thumbnail right now.
Perfect.
There. That's my cranky fist. That's
a
Man, there's
get
gotta
off
be a
my
better way to say
lawn
that.
fist. That's what that is.
Yes. But so like this is the first time that we're experiencing this as players, the first time that they're going through this particular process as developers. I imagine there's opportunity to change it, and I imagine there is a reason that they sat down and they talked about it and figured out, because they told us ahead of time when they revealed the year and the set. It was a blurb at the top of the article saying you will get the core set later than you're expecting. They had meetings. So there's got to be a reason. I don't know what it is. I hope it's rad. But it does make right now feel a little strange.
A little weird.
It feels off. I agree. Absolutely.
But hopefully we get mech magey things.
Well,
They'll-
we know
oh.
that for sure.
Yeah.
We've got a few of these.
Oh yeah,
Wait,
but
okay,
I mean
hold on.
like
I had
old
a-
school mech warping mech mage. Let's warp
Okay,
those
so I had
mechs.
this discussion on a different podcast. Do you think they're gonna bring back Mech Warper?
I hope so. I want to go
Would be
like
fun.
old school. And I think so. I think the difference between when Mech Warper was originally in versus now is just the sheer volume of cards. There's a lot of variety between classes. There's a lot of different things that the classes get to do. I think there's going to be a lot more like pushback against a Mech Mage deck. Whereas before it was like one of maybe 3 things you could competitively play. Like it really took over, but there weren't that many things to do then. But now there's so many things to do. I think there's classes that could kind of slow it down or stop it, at least give it enough competition that it's one of the good decks instead of the good deck.
Imagine spare parts with Naga synergy. Could be cool. Cheap ways to proc it. We haven't seen any spare parts yet.
Hmm. Maybe Toshly in the core set. Been a while since
Ooh.
we've cast a Toshly. Yeah. And we have developer insight live here at twitch.tv/JossPlays. Normally it's twitch.tv/amove.tv, but when you're Joss Plays, just go ahead and follow and subscribe if you have an Amazon Prime. So they've answered that in interviews. They want to give the core and the year news and expansion news both time to breathe and build excitement. Everything at once can be a bit of an overload, and that does logically make sense. That if we're dealing with hundreds of new cards and analyzing what's in and out of the core set and all the new stuff, then people might not have had time to listen to the trailer on repeat for 4 days. And listener, I know that you might think that sounds like a joke if you haven't heard the trailer. If you've heard the trailer, you know that I am speaking the truth.
Well, obviously, that trailer is the greatest trailer of all time. It was so good.
Absolute pop.
I was gonna say something and I totally forgot. Oh, so to the comment in the chat room, I think I completely understand, and I understand what you're saying too, Hat, with everybody kind of getting overwhelmed potentially with everything in and out of core and everything else. I guess I question their choice of order. Would have been nice to have core set context before we looked at, the new hotness, maybe. Because in theory, core set shouldn't really change all that much, right? Like, it's not a whole new expansion. The way they kind of sold it to us last year was very much like, well, this is the free set that everybody gets, yay, and it can change year over year. And like, can is not the same as we will replace it every year. It was kind of very strategic, very pulled back kind of wording. So I mean, maybe we'll get a whole entire new core set, but like, what if they only changed like 4 cards?
Yeah, like that's the thing about this being the first year they do it, is that we don't have a basis for comparison. We don't know how much we don't know.
I'm gonna punch myself for this later. I would bet I heard someone somewhere, and not someone on Reddit or in a Twitch stream. I remember reading somewhere that they were not happy with how impactful the core set was this initial year, and that they wanted to make it more impactful this coming year. And if someone can give me a quote for that I can link to, that would be awesome. Otherwise, don't quote me on that.
I mean, it makes sense.
It was impactful in Barons.
Yeah.
Like,
it's fair.
Imagine Barons without Alex. Also, imagine this year without Zappy Boy. Wouldn't have been the same.
That's true.
But there are a lot of other cards that weren't a Zappy Boy.
Wait, is that one rotating? No.
It was new to core last year, so we don't know.
Right. Know. Oh yeah, right. I don't know, because I kind of have core and Barons are all smooshed together in my head. And I thought he was Barons because it was so horde based, but core makes more sense.
That's a good question. What happens to the, in air quotes, new core cards? Do they get added, smushed in with Barons? Do they actually rotate? Do they become? I wonder what happens to those.
They rotate and become. They rotate, and if you want to play them while they are craftable, and they become part of the legacy set, I believe.
Okay, guess that makes sense.
Yep. But yeah, they can be in for just 1 year because they're not attached to Barons. They can just go. So if they don't want Talon to stick around, if they don't want Overlord Runthak to stick around, they don't want Zappy Boy or Illidari Inquisitor or whatever, they can just boot them out and they're gone.
Aw. I feel so bad for those cards. I mean, not that
you would be
cards
not
feelings,
Illidari Inquisitor. I think Illidari Inquisitor, you would be fine with that going away.
I'm fine with Demon Hunter going away, so if we could just rotate that whole class, that'd be good.
Thank you.
Yes!
You're both so rude. And then we're about to segue into Paladin. It is very hostile to Demon Hunters here. Very hostile.
Yeah, we are. We are going to talk about Paladin. So wait, okay. So what specifically is anti-Demon Hunter about Paladin?
Large minions with divine shields have historically not been great for the attack you with my face class.
Okay. I was just confused about what exactly what you thought Paladins had. I was thinking like WoW lore. I'm like, I don't think Paladins necessarily have anything specific against Demon Hunters.
No, more game mechanics of 80s with Divine Shield against attack you with my hero power. Not great for the Demon Hunter typically.
That's
And
fair.
also
Especially when it
all
has
the,
taunt. Yeah.
yeah, and the healing versus the damage and so on and so forth. But Paladin, I think, looks like one of the stronger sets so far, just because a lot of their cards are really aggressive on rate. We've got a couple clear themes here. We've got mechs and we've got holy, and there's no combination. There's no holy mechrel. That's battlegrounds. It's a different thing. No combination, but
Not yet.
not yet. Could be there, but both kind of look like pretty decent options. And there's one card here that I think is in my top 3 for the set of Radar Detector. 2 mana epic, scan the bottom 5 cards of your deck, draw any mechs found this way, then shuffle your deck. This is Fungal Fortunes or Book of Specters, cards that were really aggressively costed at filling your hand with a bunch of stuff. And historically, they've made archetypes viable. We have a bunch of decent mechs that we see in this set. So if there are enough to fill your deck with them, even without dredging, if this becomes 2 mana, draw 2 at minimum, draw 3, draw 4, it is format defining. Very, very powerful.
Are we excited about something format defining in the first set of the year? Because Librams haven't even left yet. They were in the first set of their year, and oh my god, they got old. So, well, not really fast, but they've been here for a long
been 2 years.
time. Yeah, it has been 2 years, technically, if you want to be technically correct. But it's...
If I'm thinking about things that got old really quickly in Ashes of Outland, Paladin's not high on that list.
It's definitely fair. But yeah, like if you think that like Mech Paladin could potentially be format defining with this Radar Detector card, is that a good thing?
I would say it depends. It depends how good
Very
the cards being
diplomatic of
drawn
you.
are. Well, I mean, so 2 mana draw, let's say best case, 2 mana draw 5, that's insane. If Mech Warper's in, that could be kind of scary. It builds up big swing turns. Now, those big swing turns could be dealt with something like Volcanomancy. If it's something that can be efficiently dealt with, it's not that bad of a deal. You're making your deck a lot smaller, you're putting stuff on board. It's not much different than... okay, it is a bit different just because it draws actually so much if it does work. But if the other cards you're drawing are not so crazy, then it's fine. But if it's really good to draw them all and they're crazy, then I think it could be a problem.
Yeah. It's entirely possible for the tuning on a card to be off relative to the rest of the field, but also when they print good cards, I'm more excited to play, and when there are no good cards, and we call that Year of the Raven, I'm less excited to play. So I would rather just have cards that make each class play differently and also make me want to play that class. Paladin is my non-Demon Hunter class with the least amount of wins, and I think it might be actually my least amount of wins at this point. Those are the only 2 classes that aren't at 1,000, and my Demon Hunter has been increasing a lot faster. Both the Holy archetype and the Mech archetype look interesting to me. The Holy archetype looks cool, even though I'm not quite sure how to build it yet. But like the Garden's Grace, this card gets my deck building juices flowing. 10 mana Holy Spell, give a minion +5/+5 and Divine Shield, costs 1 less for each mana you spent on Holy Spells this game. So this text, which is also what they have in Naga Giant, you've heard this on 2 of my podcasts already this week. You're going to hear it in the 3rd one if you listen to all of them. Bless your heart. Thank you. This is how you print cost reduction where you can't cheat it. Because in the past, it was always for X spells you played this game. You play 0 mana spells all game, and then you play an Arcane Giant for 0. This says you have to pay at some point. You don't get this for free. When you pay for your spells, this is the mail-in rebate. But you got to pay up front first. You did not see that coming, Joss.
No, I did not. I mean, I don't think I've heard anyone say mail-in rebate in 20 years. Like, who's still, like, cutting coupons and putting them in the mail? Like, what? How old are you?
There was a period in the early Newegg days where when you bought computer parts, you got those mail-in rebates on a lot of things. You would take scissors. Younger listeners, this is a real thing that actually happened. We would take scissors with the cardboard box and cut out the barcode and mail it somewhere, and they would send you a check, which is a piece of paper that means we want to give you money but don't want to put it in an envelope. It was a very silly system. especially when we're buying in digital marketplaces and then mailing cardboard around like a bunch of yutzes. But that's basically what we're doing here is you have to pay full price to get your discount. You can't get around this. I think it is a brilliant design. And if you happen to pay a bunch of holy spells and then you get 0 mana +5/+5 and Divine Shield, I think that's a reasonable payoff. I'm kind of curious to see where this goes.
Faith. I was gonna ask how big do you think we can make a Mr. Smite?
Significant.
Yeah, is
And
too big an option?
Well, and also we're not at neutrals yet, but there's a 5 mana 6/4 pirate that's dormant for 1 turn with rush. And if you play that guy on 5 and then smite on 6, then you're hitting for 12. Because the dormant for 1 turn minion, it's a pirate.
Yeah, it's the Gangplank Diver, I think, that you're talking about.
Yep. So if I play that on 5 and then it wakes up and I smite, then you're taking 12, buddy.
Well, so
And you can hand buff both of them.
it's dormant for 1 turn, and then it has rush and is immune when attacking. So you can't hit face the turn it wakes up.
Unless you smite, which gives all pirates charge.
which overrides the rush with charge. That's fair. Why is smite a card?
But they even made it a Tauren, and the Gangplank Diver is also a Tauren.
Yep.
Ugh.
I do like the horn holes on the helmet, I will say. It's a nice touch.
So cute. Oh, I wonder how
good design.
Useful they are. Like, it has to be airtight, right?
Yeah.
How did they even put it on?
I know. So many questions.
Because they screw in. They're threaded.
Horns?
Oh.
Modular. No, the horn covers.
Oh, okay. But you still have to get the helmet on over the horns somehow. Anyways.
It's
not related to the card's actual power.
This is what we need for Garrett of fitting things around hair. He would know.
Yeah, he is the expert. Yeah, so Gangplank, Diver, and Smite are neutral, and everyone can do them. So that's yay. Fun.
We'll see.
We'll see.
See what happens.
All right, where were we? We were up in Paladin. Priest next. Yes, Priest next. So from your video, Hacker, Priest is one of the classes that they seem to always have struggled with, and I think you had a little bit of trouble even kind of pinpointing what core cards might be good to bring back in Priest. Do you see any interesting direction here? Like, what is going on? What are they doing?
Yeah, it's really difficult to say. Once again, without the core set for context, it's really, really hard. It looks like there's some Miracle-y type Priest things going on. It looks like there might be some Biggie type Priest things going on. It's hard to say just from these cards. I don't know. All I know is that Priestess Valish is going to be an issue with Switcheroo. I don't know what is going to happen, but something bad will happen with that, and people will be unhappy about it. So the Priestess is a 0 mana 1/1 Naga minion with battle cry, refresh an empty mana crystal for each spell you've cast this turn, which has implications for Miracle Priest type stuff where you play a bunch of stuff in 1 turn. And it also has implications for Switcheroo, which is a 3 mana draw 2 minion spell and swaps their stats. And swapping a 0 mana 1/1 with any minion gives you a 0 mana
any minion.
Something. Yes, any minion, which could be obviously you have to pay the 3 mana to do the switcheroo, but
that's really like if all you have in your deck is your Priestess and 1 other minion or 2 copies of that whatever big minion, then on turn 3 you can have the stats of whatever that big minion is. It seems
0
like
mana Deathwing.
Not great. Or, well, not great if you're not the Priest. Pretty great if you're the Priest. They're down for 0 mana 12/12's turn 3. But it kind of puts 4 mana 7/7 in some context.
It's interesting.
I foresee a future where Princess Valish is the core card as part of Gross Turns. I don't think it's this expansion, except for Switcheroo shenanigans, because Priest has no good spells right now. Basically, all their good spells rotate.
But like, do you care how good your deck is if you're doing this on 3? Like, do you care what else you have?
If you have a high roll, then sure, there are a lot of ways to kill one minion right now. A lot of ways to kill one minion. Or you play your 12/12, and then I play Righteous Protector. 1 mana, 1/1 taunt divine shield. And that just holds you off because your deck doesn't matter outside of the one thing that you do. There's going to be a future where you have enough fuel to do what current Miracle Priest is doing, where Princess Felicia is disgusting. And in Standard right now, she would be unbelievable. Like, completely absurd. But all the good priest spells are rotating. And the important thing about Felicia is that it makes you play the spells first to really get payoff for your turn. And we have very few spells in priest right now that you want to proactively play to set something up. When that changes, not if, but when that changes, she will be a disliked card. And probably for good reason. Also, really importantly, they printed Handmaiden in the same set. 3 mana, 3/2. Battlecry, if you cast 3 spells while holding this, draw 3 cards. This allows you to spend your cards with impunity to get them back. And that's kind of the main concern I've had with most of the Naga cards that we've seen so far, is that you're spending these spells for questionable payoffs. This payoff is very clear. The cards you spend, you get them back for a 3-drop. We like that. That's good. So that's fuel for Valish. There is a deck here that they are planning on. If it's not this set, then it's soon. And I am hopeful that it's not gross, but concerned that it is, because when you give Priest card draw and mana cheating, I think it is reasonable to be a little concerned.
What do you
But
think
they took that away from Rogue.
Yeah. What do you think people hate more? Resi priests or miracle priests?
Which ladder bracket?
I guess that's fair.
And actually, no, it doesn't matter. The answer is whichever one they see more.
So it's just they hate priest.
Well, it's whichever one you see more frequently. People just like the things that they lose to a lot, or even see a lot, that homogenize gameplay experiences. So whatever the version is that you see more often, and that you've seen more often over the years, is the one that you were the most tired of. I would guess that at most ladder brackets, that's Resurrect Priest. And I would guess that a lot of high-level players are uninstalling the game until rotation because of Rally Miracle Priest, because it has so many of the vibes of Skullomance Cyclone Mage. If you don't have the answer, you just pick what you want out of the air and just throw it onto the field, and your turns are super APM heavy, and you always have the answer, and your opponent doesn't feel like they can concede because they might still have a chance, but they really don't.
But they never
but they can't prove it yet. Very similar vibes. But it just entirely depends on what they see the most.
That's fair. I just want to see something like Spiteful come back. That'd make me so happy. That's my favorite priest deck of all time.
I remember that deck, yeah. Did it run Colossal too?
Probably.
No. Okay.
I don't think so.
Maybe you needed to run like loot hoarders and stuff.
Yeah, it was just the way. Yeah, you'd played the summoner, and then you'd just pull the 10 mana, the mind control, and then you'd get a 10 mana. Yeah,
I remember. Yeah.
Yeah, it was so good. And then it had that legendary dude that, as long as he stayed on the board, he'd cast the spells from your deck, and the only spells you had were mind control and something else. It was an 8 mana something.
8 mana 4/7. His last name Archivist, first name
Grand Archivist.
Yes.
Grand.
Yes. Oh, yeah, that was such a good deck. Anyways, enough reminiscing. Anyone excited about the Priest Colossal? The lifesteal, the 8/10 lifesteal guy?
It is large.
Wicked Good is.
With the
Wicked is
lure?
very excited about it.
It is large.
I think this one is one of the most interesting ones, I think. Just because I think it's really cool that it's extra bit is the thing that makes minions attack it. Like, it's such a cool design, I think.
It's they tried this experiment. You know that warrior card Lothar? What if we made it playable and it looks like this?
I was like, do you know that warrior card Lothar? No? What?
No, exactly. That's a 7-mana 7/7 that at the end of your turn it attacks a random enemy minion, and if it kills it gains +3/+3. This is an 8-mana 8/10 lifesteal with a lure. The Colossal appendage is the lure. The 1/4 that says the end of your turn force a random enemy minion to attack the behemoth. Basically, the behemoth gets fed something by the lure. You gain. It's basically an 8-mana rush minion. But the important part is that the reason that it doesn't just have rush, first, because Colossal has a particular flavor, and second, because you can attack 2 things the following turn if the lure lives. But that's up to your opponent and the board state. Pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. I have no idea if it's going to be good. I have no idea if it's going to fit in any kind of deck. I just think this is one of my favorite designs that they're trying and playing around with. I think it's really cool.
The whole Colossal thing in general, I found really flavorful and nice, and I'm really excited to see how it pans out, because I have no idea how any of these are going to kind of work. I know the whole meta is supposed to be a bit more board-centric now, so it makes sense that these are going to see play, but I don't know where I'm slotting in any of these Colossals. I'm excited to play with them.
Yeah, I like that they also each have their own like Colossal value. It's not like they all have to summon 2 things or something. Like there's no constraint like that, and it also gives them another knob to turn in terms of balance. Like if they find that, you know, one lure it gets killed too easily and then this never works, well, maybe we could just make it Colossal +2 and maybe that makes a big difference. Who knows? Maybe that's stupid OP and I don't know what I'm talking about, but it gives them something that they can change to make these things either more or less powerful depending on what actually happens in the meta. So I think it's really cool design, and I'm looking forward to playing around with things. Hat, it's your favorite class time. What?
Well, before then, I want to talk more about Priest. I know, strange sentence to hear from me.
I thought
Yes.
Priest would be like, yeah, that Priest is weird.
So-
Let's go. Moving on.
But Behemoth in particular, so Mida in the mini set, the 6-mana 4/6 Divine Shield Lifesteal, when it dies, you shuffle in the fragment, you draw it. I really think it's great what they're doing with how they're doing Priest defensive minions. If you're against a Mida or a Behemoth and you're an aggressive deck, you have to decide the turn they pass after playing it. They get the immediate benefit off Behemoth. The 4/6, they don't get the immediate benefit off of Mida. And you have to decide as an aggressive deck, if you don't have lethal, what do I do with the rest of this game? Do I trade, give them a bunch of life? Do I have some other removal spell? Do I push past it and kind of fight against a lifesteal? With the Behemoth the same way, it's not a complete hard lock the turn you play it like Obsidian Statue. The 9-mana 4/8 lifesteal taunt, and then when it dies, it kills something else. You're not attacking past that without giving me a bunch of life. You do not have a choice in the matter. With Mida and Behemoth, the turn I play this, I'm not safe. I get something, but it's not this brick wall that you have to fight through whether you want to or not. I have to navigate the board state to the point where this keeps me from dying next turn, not this turn. You have an opening, and then both players have decisions about how do we navigate this game to make sure that, you know, they each jockey for position and figure out what wins. And the aggressive player has the choice of, do I trade into this, cut my losses, and then rebuild, or do I go for it now and hope it gets there, and maybe I don't? That kind of dynamic board state with a defensive threat is really interesting, and we haven't always had that counterplay because they just play Light Shower Elemental, Obsidian Statue, whatever, giant lifesteal taunt. Okay, the game's kind of over unless I have burn. Now, that's probably the case. If you leave up Blackwater Behemoth, I would recommend against it. I would recommend just killing your opponent. But at least the players both have choices, and the game state isn't so prescribed because I played a giant lifesteal taunt, now you don't want to play anymore. I think that's great.
Yeah, I think just
You're
not
saying-
having taunt is a good
You're
idea.
saying we should give this taunt.
No,
No taunt.
I like that they didn't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Boar. No one thanks you. Everyone blames you, Boar. I'm here to say thank you, Boar.
You think this was Boar specifically?
No, I just thought about, there's a hashtag blame Boar. There's no hashtag thank Boar.
You should start it.
I will. I'm not going to tweet right now. I'm doing a podcast, but that's later.
All right. Are you ready for Rogue? Are you done with Priest?
Aye, Captain.
All right, then let's talk about Rogue. So not as many Rogue cards as other classes we've talked about so far, but is there anything here that gets you super excited other than obviously Krakatoa? Because obviously.
Hacker, why don't you start here? Why don't you start? I want to see where your rogue mind
giving
is
off the reins of
What?
rogue review. What?
at. Professional players and rogue go together like peanut butter and jelly, and I am curious. I know where my thoughts are. I want to know where Hacker's thoughts are. I'm curious.
I'm slightly concerned about Hook Tusk. However, I think that's a very different sort of archetype than Rogue has had in the past. Rogue has always done tempo-y things. And this could be tempo-y, but it also seems kind of like a Warrior Questline game plan without the reward being quite as good. Or maybe even better, I don't know. I forget what the treasures do.
There's 5 cards from opponent's deck, 2 cards from opponent's hand, or highest attack minion. My current assumption is that it is same zone to same zone, so that it's deck to deck, hand to hand, board to board. If it is from 5 cards from their deck that you put them in your hand, then that option is a lot more compelling. It becomes kind of a Lightforge Crusader if you need more resources, as opposed to just kind of a Ticketus. But the 2 cards from hand to hand is kind of weird, and then 8 mana, 8/8 mind control does seem decent.
I'm kind of sick of the Rogue do a bunch of broken tempo stuff, draw a bunch of cards, and then kill my opponent with eviscerates or stabs or charge. I'm kind of over that, so I like that they're doing something a bit different. Very interested in that. I like that aspect of what's going on here, at least with these cards revealed so far.
See, Hacker had a really involved thought. I like the Vilespine Slayer and the Curtis Hero card, which is what we call Bootstrap Sunkeneer and Krakatoa. Those are just going to get played in rogue decks. I like that. I like rogue decks. The rest of the pirate cards, whatever.
Okay, yeah. So are there enough? Because you have to play 8 pirates in order to activate Hook Tusk's ability. Are there enough compelling pirates in Rogue, or I guess in Neutral plus Rogue, to make that a fun and playable competitive deck?
A fun deck.
I guess, yeah, maybe I should separate competitive from playable and fun.
We've got 5 more cards. Cutlass Courier, the 3-drop, the 2/5, after your hero attacks, draw a pirate that is a pirate. Like, it's fine. But I think the assumption here is that we're going to play this Ajaran Vessel, the Sinky ship. I think the assumption that we're going to play that to make 2 3/3 pirates with stealth, and then 2 more 3/3 pirates with stealth for 5 mana and a dredge. And I'm not convinced that we want to do that, because I certainly don't want to do that, because that's not a great rate in 2022 for minions. Right now, Hook Tusk looks like a slightly better Ticketus to me, and I don't want to play Ticketus. It looks fun. I might try it day 1. I don't envision it being a core part of the meta or a fringe part of the meta, but I envision playing the Vilespine Slayer and the Curtis Hero, so
Those both look very good. There are some pirates you can get away with. Swashbuckler is currently in core set. I don't know if it still will be. Boxtail Freebooter, the 2 mana 2/2, deal 2 if you're holding a weapon, could be okay, especially if there are other weapons in Rogue, but even just the dagger you could technically warrant running. Past that, there's less exciting ones available. So this is also
the Amalgam.
summoned.
The new Amalgam is good.
Yeah, the Amalgam is actually also good. You can discover another Pirate Admiral Hook Tusk. I believe the 2 pirates summoned from the 5 mana spell you're talking about count towards this, because this is summoned, not played.
Yeah, it's Vessel is Sinky Ship is clearly printed as a support tool here, because it's 4 of the 8 pirates, and Hook Tusk very specifically says summon because it wants you to make tokens. So I think that's the reason why Sinky Ship is so clearly placed here and was revealed ahead of Hook Tusk, because it's 4 3/3s. If you can play it, dredge it, draw the cast when drawn that makes 2 more. If you can reliably do that by turn 6, your Hook Tusk is going to be active on 8. And that's kind of where you want to be. But there's only one option from Hook Tusk that impacts board. And we kind of need to do that when we play the 8-drop. So that means it's probably going to be a mind control most of the time, unless your opponent has no stuff. And if they have no stuff, then maybe the take from hand version is good. I don't know.
I feel like I would always just take from my opponent's deck because I'm a jerk like that. I'm like, what gives me the most of your stuff? Because I'm gonna do that. Yeah, just give me all your cards. You wanted to do stuff? Oh, was that one of your combo pieces? Oh, rip.
Oh no.
But yeah,
I can see a Jocelyn Sea of Thieves themed rogue stream.
Oh, that'd be fun. I think I still have my Sea of Thieves launch pirate costume somewhere. Yeah, no. It probably doesn't even still fit. All right, Shaman. We got a big reveal today. Get it? Because the Colossal card. Get it?
I got it.
Thank
No, wait,
you.
explain that to me. I'm not sure. I didn't follow.
Colossal is another word for big.
Oh, it is. Yeah. So you mean that like the big reveal is in like large and excitement, but also the minion is physically substantial.
Yes, exactly. See, you get me. So, Glug the Gulper was revealed today on the super awesome raunchy animation. There was a few. I think the Demon Hunter Shark was revealed in their video today as well, that we talked about earlier.
Yes.
So the Shaman Colossal minion is a 7 mana 3/5 and Colossal +3. So you summon 3 different Glug's tails that are all 2/2s with taunt. And then when a friendly minion dies, Glug gains its original stats. So lots of things to wrap your head around here. But as things die, and again, all of his tail pieces have taunt. So you have 3 taunts to get to him, unless you have some sort of targeted something to get around those taunts and remove him. He's going to get big. He's very long.
Which tail is your favorite? All 3 have different art.
They do, which is something I really like about just the Colossals in general, that they have that one big, huge piece of art that's been split up over the pieces. I think I like the last piece with the glowy pink tail end. I mean, the middle piece, it's like, what even is that? What about your hat?
There's the loop, the S, and the stinger.
Oh, yeah. See, I like the stinger.
I think I'm team loop.
Loop's a good one.
Stinger as well.
Nah, haha. I mean, I don't want to say you're wrong, Hat, but
You're wrong, Hat.
I'll be honest, I don't have that much emotional investment in this race.
You mean you don't care deeply about which tail is best tail? Oh, can't believe it.
I do want to know which one my opponents can attack first, and I do think it is probably Stinger because it's the furthest right. But it remains to be seen. I don't know. This card's rad. I don't know if it's good, but it's rad, and I want to play with it. And also, if I play this and my opponent wants to trade in, the stats don't go anywhere.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a 3/5 and 3/2/2 taunts with Divine Shield. I'm down. I accept.
Interesting. I guess I want to say defensive because 3 separate taunt bodies is pretty big, and if you punch through them, you make the head bigger. Interesting. Hard to evaluate.
A lot of these are, and Shaman is the class that I'm most excited for and most concerned about. They got a bunch of cool new stuff. Spell schools finally give Shaman an identity after 8 years in Hearthstone with them not knowing how to make Shaman feel like Shaman. They figured out put different spell tribes in the bottom of spells, and Shaman feels like a class because it's got all this really cool spell school stuff matters. It is doing what the Mage quest did for Mage, but for Shaman, so it's going to make people less tilted because it's not the Mage quest. And we've got like the Legendary is really cool. It plays off the fire spells and nature spells and frost spells differently. Coral Keeper is the card I want to call out. 5 mana 3/4 Naga. Battlecry summon a 3/3 elemental for each spell school you've cast this game. Back in my day, we called this Emerald Spellstone, except it had to be in your hand to upgrade, and now it doesn't anymore. And Brilliant Macaw is in Standard, as many of you know. So if you want more 3/3s, they are available. Also, the new Gulper makes big boards. I am concerned that out of the better Shaman cards we've seen, the best counter to all of them is Snowfall Guardian, which is also a Shaman card that's good with Brilliant Macaw. So I have some concerns about what the meta is going to look like from that angle, and also just in general, Snowfall Guardian as a gameplay experience is not one that I love being a core part of standard environments because chain freezes aren't great for doing stuff with my own cards. But
I've been playing the Burn Shaman deck with the Macaws and the Snowfall Guardians, and I feel like a bad person. It's not fun to be
that
on
deck is hard to
either
play.
end of it.
That deck is hard to play, and they did also print a new tech card today that's very good against Snowfall Guardian, so maybe that'll see a bunch of play, though I don't think a field where the way to deal with Chain Freezes is Mass Silence is fun for anybody, and so I hope that instead Snowfall Guardian just isn't that great. But I do really want to play the multicaster Spell School Shaman thing. That's my first day one deck as of this moment, because it looks rad and the support tools are there.
It looks quite cool. I was hoping Living Dragon Breath would be brought back in the core set, but with the new Silence All card today, I don't think that's going to happen.
We don't know yet.
We don't know yet.
We don't know. But probably not. I still think that Living Dragon Breath is more likely than Overgrowth.
Agreed. That's fair.
But we'll see.
Looks good.
I was gonna say, I mean, everyone's gonna be so sad if Overgrowth is actually in core.
And also, we talked about the art on Glug a little bit. I love the art in Bioluminescence. I called out last week. I'll do it again. The art in this set continues to be 10 out of 10. Knock it out of the park. The best I have seen in any Hearthstone set, and that is a high bar for a game that normally has excellent visual polish. The art this set has been sensational.
They get to play with just such a colorful palette, right? This isn't Barrens where everything is barren and brown and red and horde. This is like the entire palette and all the blues and the greens and the purples and the pinks, and it looks so good. I love it.
Yes.
Any other thoughts on Shaman before we move things along? Just
Shaman used to be the Murloc class.
Yes, I was going to say that too.
Well, they do have a Murloc, Piranha Poacher. 3 mana, 2/5 at the end of your turn, add a 1/1 Piranha Swarmer to your hand, and the Swarmers are beasts, though not Murlocs, but
they're all different colors.
I love that.
Oh, they
I
are.
love that so much. You will randomly
Speaking
get
of a
1 of
big
5
color
Piranha
palette.
Swarmers. So they're all the same card, but you will randomly get 1 of 5 different colors, and that's just it tickles me. I'm tickled.
I'm glad that they're doing stuff like this now, because that was always a big thing that we heard when Hearthstone first came out, is that the art has to be recognizable, has to be the same, has to this, that, and the other thing. And now they're just having fun. I like the fun version with all my different rainbow color piranhas. Do we think that like piranha decks are ever going to be a thing? Because the
Not until they have
Swarmers...
charge.
Not until, sorry? Oh, charge.
Not until they have charge.
You can put a bunch in your hand and then use bioluminescence to do like a spell bloodlust thing. I don't know. I don't know. See what happens.
Maybe? So
Someone
you're
will
saying
figure it out.
just fill your board with 1/1 piranhas and then give all of them spell damage and have +7 spell damage?
Just go to Wire's Twitter account in the first day of the expansion and refresh every hour, and he will do something with these cards.
Okay.
Very likely.
So Warlock is one that we've only seen 3 cards from. Is there anything even worth touching on here? Because this is just, other than, hey, we're doing Murlocs over on the Warlock side of things.
That's all I have to say.
I think that's a really well-articulated point.
This, yeah,
Thanks.
there's really nothing else to add.
I actually voiced Gigafin in the upcoming expansion.
Yeah.
You do speak Merkulish.
I at one point knew each individual Murloc call of the original few Murlocs that existed in Classic.
That
Wow.
is a
I have a follow-up
very-
interview question for you. Why?
Yeah, it's
Why?
a very specific talent.
I have a very specific set of tools that I will use to entertain you. I don't know. It was funny.
Something's fishy about this.
I
Josh,
thought we
that was the pun.
decided that
That was-
Murlocs weren't fish, they were frogs.
It depends. If you're using it for comedic purposes, they can be fish.
Ah, okay. I see. All right, let's talk about Warrior. Are we going to see anything out of Warrior that isn't pirates? Or are they just going to keep pirating for the next year until the quest lines rotate?
Well, there's a beast that summons pirates.
I actually think this is the weakest Colossal, because it's just kind of like, it's not as many stats as you get from a lot of the other ones, and you don't get the immediate effect, kind of weak to silences. You don't really want to play it in Quest Warrior, because that deck really
it
relies
doesn't have
on
a pirate
playing.
tag.
Yeah, you rely on playing a bunch of pirates quickly, and then you get infinite pirates as a reward. When I have infinite, I don't need 3 more, and I don't need a 7-drop. And then in any kind of slower non-Quest Warrior deck, I don't really need 3 random pirates, even if one of them is a 1-mana smite. Maybe I do, but if I'm playing a slower controlling warrior deck and I need more stuff, I play this card called Kazakhstan, and that gives me a lot of more stuff. So I am
That's
less
better than
convinced
3
on
random
Nelly.
pirates
I would say so. I would say yes.
on average,
so
probably.
far. I haven't run the numbers. I'm going to bet on Kazakhstan there.
That would be a safe
Probably.
bet. Yep.
Agreed. You could do some smite shenanigans. Smite plus 3 mana pirates on average will give you, like, I don't know, somewhere around 15 damage, maybe a bit more.
Yeah, and you'll probably
Depends.
get a smite out of this. Like, they're just because that Nelly is Discover, it won't get you non-warrior, non-neutral pirates as
It's
opposed to the
Discover?
Juggernaut. It's Discover
It's
3
Discover,
pirates. So
yeah.
you're going to get a 1-mana smite here. You're going to get a 1-mana smite.
Can it be the same
Yeah.
pirate across the 3 discovers?
No, it cannot. It will be 3
Oh.
distinct pirates. Cannot be 3 smites. Do not fear that. It will be 3 different pirates, but you can plan on at least one of them being a smite, just because the odds of the warrior and neutral pool is pretty small, all things considered. So if you're looking for a charge warrior with a Galvangar supplement, you can probably find one here. I don't envision that being like a core strategy in the new environment, but I've been wrong before. I feel like Kazakhstan is still a little bit more reliable. We also have the Fires of Zinajari, where if you're looking for a golden monkey equivalent, 2-mana epic fire spell, replace your deck with minions that cost 5 from where they cost 5. Duels fans out there, I know we got a few of you. Scepter of Summoning. Here we go. Here we are.
It's here.
If you feel like Vandaring, you can have a bunch of 2-mana minions. Not that you're drawing more than 1 a turn, but your deck could be full of cheap minions. I don't know. Probably doesn't matter, but you could do it. There's a lot of ways to get late game value some way in Warrior right now.
So
We haven't seen
probably-
much removal.
No.
Do they need it though?
There's a lot of removal leaving.
Mm.
Well, I'll say hard target removal is rotating.
Yeah. We're
There's still
keeping a lot of the
AoE.
AoE stuff. And we'll probably end up playing like Hit It Very Hard, which isn't seeing a lot of play right now. We are losing Barov, which is a big deal. Bulwark of Aznoth is a big deal. Blade Storm, Minefield. We're keeping Rancor. We're keeping Frozen Bulwark and Shield Shatter, which is the best that they have right now for AoE. But yeah, for single target, they're a little lighter. Though Outrider's Axe gets so much better when you end up in board-based metas, and they've repeatedly said that we're going to end up there. And Outrider's Axe and the Lady Ashvane, which is the 5/5 that gives all the weapons everywhere in your entire life +1/+1. Access to Ashvane.
Permanently
is-
affects your collection.
Yeah, it's just like you go find a hammer in the wild. It's like, oh, this is a little bigger. It's a little bigger.
Notably, Corsair Cash is leaving, which is
Yes,
probably going to be pretty big
also
as well.
important. Yep. We're keeping Whetstone Hatchet, we're keeping Outrider's Axe, and we're keeping Blacksmithing Hammer. But we're losing Bulwark, we're losing Reaper Scythe, and we're losing Corsair Cash. Among
And
a couple
Ringmaster's
others.
Baton. Let's not forget that.
I think we forgot that. But yes. But we're losing Spiked Wheel, the Fiery War Axe that didn't make it.
Wait a minute. What does that say for... Oh, no. That means the Juggernaut's going to be cranking out some good weapons going forward, huh?
No Bulwark, but yes. But I will say that the Bulwark hit off Juggernaut was pretty frustrating quite often.
Mm.
Yeah,
So
that's fair.
that possibility is gone. But yes, the chance of hitting the Gorehowl, pretty substantial.
Okay.
Unless
see.
they bring a whole bunch back in core set.
Yeah. Well, they printed a weapon here. They printed Sinky Fork, a Jaran Trident. So it's it's a Fiery War Axe that's like slightly better, but also we're not going to go searching for forks. We're not Ariel and Little Mermaid.
But we
I
could be.
never even made that. I never drew that parallel. That's so cute.
It is. It's a great
Oh.
movie, but I don't want to play a Hearthstone deck that tries to emulate that movie.
Fair. Yeah, that sort of story doesn't have legs to stand on.
No! Wow!
Everyone's doing it now. You've officially infiltrated our brains.
Oh no.
I'm proud of myself.
Are there
Yeah.
any neutral? We're not going to go through all the neutral cards here, but are there any neutral cards that you wanted to point out specifically to chat about before we wrap the show? As I slowly pan through.
There's a
There are
lot of
two that stand out to
flexible
me. Yeah. So, okay. People are freaking out today about the global silence. A 3-mana 2/4 Smothering Starfish, Battlecry, silence all other minions. It's a beast. People are freaking out about this card. Okay. Don't panic.
That art is
Global
so good,
silence.
though.
It's not really. It's not that great. It's okay. This is Break Glass in case of Snowfall Guardian. Very, very good against Snowfall Guardian. But Showstopper has been in Standard for 16 months. Saw play in like one deck. Royal Librarian has been in Standard for about 8 months. Was played in decks that cared about the line that said treatable. Not played because you needed silence. Silence is just not what we remember it being back in the day when all minions were bad. There was no synergy in Owl cost 2. That's what we remember. And I will say I am annoyed by Priest Global Silence in Shard of the Naru, in Miracle Priest, when they also play 19 other spells the same turn. It doesn't cost any mana. All my stuff dies. They pair it with 2 Devours, whatever. But the Palm Breaking's going away. But Global Silence, so decks and minions are so synergistic these days. If you are not a minion deck, you don't play this. You play something that kills their stuff. Because killing their stuff is better than silencing their stuff, because if you silence their stuff, they still hit you with it because they still have it, even if it's quieter. And if you have your own minions, think about Face Hunter. Turn 1, Iron Deep Trog. Turn 2, Doggy Biscuit. Turn 3, Starfish. Wait a minute. That's not very good. You don't want to do that. There are so many buffs and synergy cards these days that you don't want to play this when you have your own minions unless you are attacking for lethal by breaking freeze. Or the best use case for cards like this is when you have large minions where this text is cost reduction text that's active in your hand, like Flesh Giants and Goldshire Gnolls. Those are really great with self-silence effects because they don't have any text when they're in play. You only have text when they're in your hand, like Handlock. That's why Handlock played Showstopper. But the idea of some aggressive deck playing this to silence all their stuff for lethal, they're not going to do that because all their stuff has text too. And the idea of some controlling deck play this to silence all your stuff to kill it all, no, they just kill it without playing a 2/4 with their cards that they already use to kill your stuff. There's a Snowfall Guardian tech. Don't panic. It's better than Showstopper, but I promise it'll be okay. You won't see this in a ton of decks, and if you do, just play something that doesn't care about getting silenced, or hit them in the face with the minions that they silenced because they played a 3-mana 2/4. Just the things that they left behind, attack the opponent with them, and then the opponent goes away. It'll be okay.
So you're saying all of this, and I'm just gonna hit you in the head with a frozen mammoth.
Oh, look, silence Priest, but with elephants now.
Yeah, Humongous Razor Leaf is in the core set currently. It probably won't be in the new core set, but
No, I don't think so.
I feel like
But
it's
maybe-
been a really long time though since like we've been silencing our own minions as priests so that they can then do the thing. I might be okay with that coming back. It's been a while.
That'd be
Ancient
cool.
Watcher days.
It's
Or a couple
if
of those.
that's where we end up here, I'm thrilled by the archetype enabling. But people are talking about it's going to silence all my cool stuff. Then hit them with your cool stuff because you still have it. Please.
Just hit him in the
Just hit them.
face.
Yes.
That's fair.
And then the other card, there is one card that we have to talk about. Queen Ajara should be our last card. The Queen.
very thematic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, she has Xalatath, so she already wins best card of the set.
So Queen Ajara, I will share this with the listeners and then let my co-hosts share their opinions because I'm curious. I'm really curious where y'all stand on this. So 5-mana 5/5, Naga, neutral, legendary, battlecry. If you cast 3 spells while holding this, choose an ancient relic. There are 4 ancient relics. Ring of Tides. After you cast a spell, this becomes a copy of it that costs 1. Note, this is worded as such that it copies the spell and does not keep transforming. It's whatever you play right away, transforms once and once only and stays as that spell. There's Xalatath, the 2-mana weapon, 0/5. After you cast a spell, deal 2 damage to the enemy hero and lose 1 durability. Horn of the Ancients, 3-mana spell, add a random Colossal minion to your hand to cost 1. And Tidestone of Golganeth, shuffle 5 random spells into your deck, set their cost to 1, draw 2 cards. Joss, how do you feel about the Queen?
I mean, I like her, but I usually like crazy stuff. So I don't know if she's actually good, but it feels like Tidestone and possibly Horn are really good. I mean, Horn, so you're basically paying 4 mana for some random Colossal. But the interesting thing about Colossals is that you don't really have to necessarily build a deck around them. Like, they interact with themselves. It's not like you have to have a specific hero power or you have to have like a specific deck built to work with a Colossal. So if you get them randomly, it's not terrible. I would probably take a random Colossal, especially costing 1, over like a random legendary or something. In terms of the Tidestone, I mean, Tidestone, you're getting to draw 2 cards for 1 mana. Like, even without the rest of the text, that's probably just good. The other two,
It's
I feel, are kind of meh.
card. Yeah. So this is a win condition, in air quotes, that isn't game ending on the spot. It'll give you some sort of advantage, a sort of value card. This coming down on curve is not super likely, and if it does, it means that you have not really developed much in terms of board. So it seems like it's probably a slower control-your type card. Could be put in something like a Druid if Druid still has a bunch of, cast spells, do stuff.
Right, because
but
she
I like
has to
that it's not
be
just
she
game
has to
ending.
be in your hand because she's a Naga, right? So she has
Yes.
to be in your hand in order to activate the spell or activate the effect. So you have to cast 3 spells and also have her in hand. So yeah, you're right. It's probably not going to be a turn 5 play in very many decks.
Yeah, I think it's okay. I like it. It could be a sort of not necessarily game ender, but one of the threats that you run, at least at the start of this year, when there's not too many things you can run that win you the game. This could be one of those things that helps push you into the driver's seat.
Yeah. The thing that stands out to me when comparing it compares more to neutral High Spare and Togwaggle to me. First, I was thinking of it like Lich King just because of the lore implications and neutral legendary thing, but none of the treasures affect the board. Not a single one. Closest you get is Colossal, being a Colossal, and most of those have immediate impact, but otherwise, if you were behind, you are never getting ahead by playing Ajara. So yeah, it needs to be some kind of deck that can stabilize the board in its own, that has a lot of resources already and is a little bit more patient, and then can deal with the minor to moderate value that you get off of the Colossal, most likely. I was thinking Xalatath in Quest Hunter is a Pyroblast, and we play
That's
a lot of
true.
spells already. So I wonder if there's a world where we say, all right, let's just get 10 damage here. But you're still committing 7 mana up over a couple turns for that 10 damage. And 7's like, it's a big number. And again, Quest Hunter not really struggling to deal a lot of damage from hand when the quest is done. So
Yeah, that's the kind of deck where it's like she could probably work and be activated, but it's like your opponent's also probably dead by the time that happens. Like, you don't need her to make your deck work. Your deck's already working.
Could be another card you run in that Demon Hunter deck that runs the Flamewaker you're talking about.
yeah,
I imagine there's
can
going to be
see
a lot
that.
of spells there as well.
Gonna make me go all
Yeah.
the way back up to Demon Hunter.
To Lady Flamewaker. So yeah, set's cool. Ungoro vibes. Really excited.
A lot of cool stuff. A lot of different directions. Both keywords are kind of cool.
I think that's it. I think we're done with cards. Success!
Yeah.
We did it, guys. I'm so proud of us. And we definitely don't have time for emails. So I think that's going to be the end of the show. Again, we wanted to say a very big thank you to our patrons over at patreon.com/tack. Again, if you head on over to that site, you can become a patron, get an ad-free version of the show, as well as access to our patron Discord. Very big thank you to our Patreon producers, Declan H. and Dustin C. And you can catch the live show normally on twitch.tv/amovetv on Monday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern. Obviously, this week we are over on my Twitch channel, but Garrett will be back next week, so we will be chatting all things Hearthstone with him over there. LanguageHacker, you're our guest. Thank you so much for joining us today. We had a great time. Where can folks find you? What would you like to point them at content-wise?
If you like watching Hearthstone, twitch.tv/LanguageHacker. If you like snarky tweets, funny GIFs, twitter.com/LanguageHacker_. Those are the main two. YouTube is great too. And just look up LanguageHacker on any site you use, basically.
We also have links to all of that in the show notes, so you can go and check out our show notes at amove.tv. Hat, where can folks find your content?
So if you're typing in LanguageHacker in a site, open another copy of that tab and type in RidiculousHat instead, and I will come up in the same places. Very similar brand consistency. But the hub of my content is over on twitter.com/RidiculousHat, and I am on multiple other Hearthstone podcasts. Coin Concede makes the competitive side of the game more accessible to you over at coinconcede.com, and the Vicious Syndicate podcast over at vicioussyndicate.com is a data-driven look at the standard metagame. Joss, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter and Twitch. I'm at Joce Plays. That's JOCE Plays. You can also check out The Gamers Inn, which is my general gaming podcast. We're talking about Tiny Tina's Wonderland and Butt Stallions this week, and I'm so excited. Man, that game is just so up my alley. It's all diamonds and sparkles and pink and purple and unicorns and guns. It's glorious. And if you'd like to follow Garrett, you can do so over on Twitter at GarrettArt. You can also check out AMoveTV for all of the podcasts that he does, or head on over to youtube.com/AMoveTV if you want to check out Grinding Gears, which is his Final Fantasy 14 content. I think I got that right. If not, Garrett, I'm sorry. Just update the show notes so I know better next time. That's going to do it for us this week. Thank you guys so much for listening. Job's done.
Job's done.
Job's done.